Good morning, students. Myself, Savita Alfred, welcomes you e-learning classes provided by St. Michael's Academy, Betia. Today, I will teach you Class 5th English, Chapter 1, The Invention of Shoes. This is the story about shoes we wear to protect our feet. Before starting the story, I would like to tell something about our poet Sir Rabindranath Tagore. Sir Rabindranath Tagore was a renowned Indian poet, educator, painter, and social reformer. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913 for his beautiful collection of verses Gitanjali. He had a deep interest in children and wrote many poems about them. Before starting the chapter, we will see the word meaning. Wrath, anger. Pondered, thought about the problem deeply. Perspired, sweated. Do away with, remove, or get rid of. Commenced, began. Perished, died, or were killed, or suddenly or unexpectedly. Racked their brains, tried very hard to think of something. Loophole, a narrow escape route. The royal machinery, the system and procedure of the kingdom. Tanners, people who make leather. Emissaries, messengers or representatives. Effective, in a way that works well, or something effective gets the job done. Lost their sheep over it, been extremely worried about it. And snug, well protected and comfortable. So let's start our story. Once upon a time, there was a king called Hobu. One morning he summoned his minister and said, "Listen, Gobu Roy, I stayed up all night thinking, why should the dust dirty my royal feet whenever I step on the ground? All you people, you are only concerned with the pocketing your fat salaries. You have no concern for the king or the kingdom or the problems that bother me. You must put an end to this at once, or else no one shall be spared from my royal wrath." Gobu Roy wondered and worried. He pondered and perspired. The Pandits' faces turned pale. The courtiers' night turned sleepless. In the kitchen, the cooking stopped. In the castle, the crying started. The explanation of this paragraph. Once there was a king called Hobu. One day he called his chief minister Gobu Roy and said, "Why the dust makes dirty my royal feet when I step on the ground? So you must finish my problem at once, or no one can save you from my punishment." Then Gobu Roy thought deeply about the king's problem. He called Pandit and courtiers also. They also thought deeply, but they could not get any solution. Our next paragraph is this. Gobu Roy looked far and wide and gathered all the scientists and learned men, all the scholars and mechanics he could find. They pushed their glasses up their noses and sat down to find a solution to the royal problem. After thinking long and deep, they said, "If you do away with the soil, how will you grow crops?" The king replied, "If you cannot figure out how, then of what use are you?" Explanation of this paragraph is, the Gobu Roy called all the scientists learned men, scholars, and mechanics. They also thought deeply and as hard as they could to get a solution for King's problem. And after thinking long and deep, they got a solution that we will remove the soil. Then how will the king's feet get dirty? Then the king said, if you cannot remove my problem, then what is your use? So they thought some more, and then they made a purchase of 17,50,000 brooms. Workers were summoned. The dusting of the kingdom commenced. The dust covered the king's face and chest. No one could open their eyes because of the dust. No one could see the sun. People coughed and choked. The kingdom was almost buried under the dust. The king said, you were supposed to get rid of the dust, not fill the world with it. Explanation of this paragraph. The Goburoi and his ministers, scientists, learned men, scholars, and mechanics, they all thought more and more, but they could not get any solution, so they bought 17,50,000 brooms. They called workers and started dusting of the kingdom. In spite of removing the soil, they filled the kingdom with the dust, and the entire city disappeared in the cloud of dust. For this solution, king scolded them. What is this? In spite of removing the dust, you have filled the earth with it. Then 21 lakh water carriers set out with bags of water. They ran fast and they ran all over, pouring water wherever they saw a speck of dust. All the ponds and lakes were soon overflowing with mud. No boat could move on the river since there was no water. The water creatures perished. The land creatures tried their hand at swimming. They could hardly walk or run on the mud. No bazaar could be set up, so trading stopped. All the king's subjects sneezed and coughed and sniffed and suffered. The king said, what are lots of fools! They got rid of the dust only to replace it with mud. The explanation of this paragraph is, so to solve this problem of dust, they called 21 lakh water carriers to set out the dust with bags of water. They started running and sprinkling water, and the mud filled everywhere. The boat could not move due to no water in the river. So the creatures died. So the water creatures died, and the whole people of the city got upset. Then again the king became angry with the ministers and wise people of the kingdom. Once again, everyone gathered to solve the royal problem. Once again, the great men and their assistants racked their great brains. They thought and then thought harder, but they were baffled and blank. They were at a loss to know how to lose the dust. Someone said, cover the earth with mats. Rugs and carpets shall stop the dust from touching the royal feet. Explanation of this paragraph is, once again all great men and their helpers gathered to find the king's solution, but they could not find any solution. Their minds became numb or blank. They could not think how to remove the dust. Then someone said that cover the earth with mats, rugs, and carpets. When there will be no dust, then the king's feet will not get dirty. Someone else suggested, keep the king indoors. See to it that there's no hole or loophole anywhere. If he does not step on the dust, no dust shall touch his royal feet. The king said, very true, but I am worried. If I were to stay shut up indoors every day, all day, then the royal machineries shall come to a stop. My kingdom shall be ruined. Explanation of this paragraph is, then someone advised the king to be kept indoors without holes anywhere. If he does not step on the dust, their feet will not get dirty. The king said, it is absolutely right. If I stay up indoors, who will look after my common people? My kingdom will be ruined. Then, taking matters into his own hands, the king announced, call the tanners, all of them. Wrap the whole land in leather. This shall be my great contribution, a mighty blanket for the dusty earth. Everyone bowed the king. What a brilliant idea, Your Royal Highness, they said. It is only a question of finding a tanner good enough. The explanation of this paragraph is that the king takes all the situations in his hand and announced, call all the tanners. Tanners means people who make leather things, and said, cover the entire earth with the leather. This shall be great contribution in the form of a mighty blanket for the dusty earth. Everyone saluted the king for his brilliant idea and said, there is only one problem, from where to find a good tanner. The royal emissaries set off in every which way. Everyone stopped what they were doing and rushed out to look for a tanner good enough. Where could they find such a tanner, and where could they find so much leather? At last, the chief tanner of the kingdom presented himself at the royal court. He was an old man. He bowed to the king, smiled a little, and said, if your Royal Highness permits, I have a suggestion to make. It might fulfill your wish in a simple yet effective way. You may make your suggestion, said the king. The explanation of this paragraph is this. Then royal messengers are sent to find the best tanners, and they are explained where they can find best tanner and leather. Finally, the chief tanner of his city comes to the court. He was an old man. Bowing down to the king, he said, if the king permits me, I have a suggestion, and I can fulfill your wish in simple but effective way. Cover your royal feet, your Royal Highness, said the old tanner. Then you shall not have to cover the whole earth. If it was all that easy to solve the problem, said the king, would everyone in the kingdom have lost their sleep over it. Arrest the fellow, said Gobu Roy, and throw him into jail. But already the old tanner was deep at work. Sitting down at the king's feet, he had been measuring and cutting, stitching and fitting. Before the king could decide whether to throw him into jail, the explanation of this paragraph is, then the king said, "Tell me your suggestion." The tanner tells, "Your Highness, cover your royal feet. Then you will not need to cover the whole earth." Then king said, "If it is so easy, why did everyone lose their sleep?" Then Gobu Roy ordered, "Arrest him and put him into the jail." But the old tanner was very good at work. Sitting down at king's feet, he took the measurement, cut the leather, stitched and fitted it. He had finished a neat pair of shoes and presented it to His Royal Highness. King Hobu put on the shoes. They fit him perfectly. His royal feet felt warm and snug, and most importantly, clean. The minister spared the old tanner. He said, "I had the same idea myself. Some way or the other, the fellow must have got hold my idea." And so, from that day, began the use of shoes. The royal feet were saved. So was Gobu, and so was the earth. The explanation of this paragraph is this. Before sending him to the jail, he prepared a neat pair of shoes and presented it to the king. The king Hobu wore shoes. They fit him perfectly. His feet was warm and comfortable, and it was the best thing that the king's feet were clean. So everyone freed the old tanner. The Gobu Roy said, "I had the same idea, and maybe he took my idea." And so from that day, everyone began to use the shoes. The royal feet were also saved, and everyone's feet were secured. So children, this was the story, The Invention of Shoes. Hope you will be safe at home. I am also. So stay at home and read this story and learn word meaning and hard word of the lesson and question answers also, and write in your copy. Thank you.